What is up, guys? Pogo9 here, and today I'm going to be covering a couple of GBL sets that I did today. I'm very proud of. I'm at rank 9, 2,696 rating, and I've been running an Ampharos lead, which does surprisingly well. It helps me catch Azumarills with that Focus Blast. It helps me catch the Registeals. It can win the one shield against Altaria with the proper IV spread, and as long as you don't have any lag. I'm running Tropius and Azumarill in the back. Ampharos in the lead is obviously extremely weak to the Mud Boys. Swampert, Stunfisk, and Whiscash are the three most common ones that I see. And Tropius and Azumarill in the back can cover both of those weaknesses if I do encounter that lead. Starting off here, we're going up against Sky Red, a fellow rank 9. And very poor lead for us. We're going to lead Ampharos into Meganium. Volt Switch still does decent damage, even though it's not very effective, but Meganium just cranks out these Frenzy Plants too fast. So at this point, whenever I run into a grass lead, because if I do swap in Tropius on this Meganium, then it gives them the opportunity to swap out. It doesn't go very well for me. So I try to hit that Focus Blast there. Unfortunately, an extra Volt Switch went through, and I wasn't able to. So I'm going to bring in Tropius, and as soon as I see that Meganium swap out, I insta-swap because I do not want my Azumarill locked in against that Meganium for any period of time. It is a Registeel, which deals neutral to Azumarill with that Flash Cannon. Hydro Pump also deals neutral, but it is a big nuke and will hurt a lot if it goes unshielded. Catching this Registeel is very good for me as well because I don't want Tropius matched up against it, and that Hydro Pump goes unshielded, which is very, very good for me. However, I do want to save shields for Tropius because I know I can farm that Meganium the whole way down and come out with a lot of energy. Right here, I should have thrown the Ice Beam, but I got greedy and tried to overfarm and didn't realize how close he was to another Flash Cannon. And because of that, the Registeel is able to get a Flash Cannon off of my Azumarill, but I'm just going to let it go and be able to farm down with my Tropius now. I do throw this Leaf Blade just because I know he's getting dangerously close to another Flash Cannon. And at this point, he decides to shield because he is indeed at a Flash Cannon. We did CMP tie there, but Tropius did win out that CMP tie. So obviously I'm going to shield. The Flash Cannon would do probably 30-40% of Tropius' health, not something I want to deal with. So at this point, he's going to bring back in the Meganium, I believe, to just try to get off as much Frenzy Plant damage as he can. However, it's a very good farm opportunity for Tropius. These Frenzy Plants are going to be double resisted, which is very good for me. I would hit super effective with that Aerial Ace if I chose to, but I want to make sure I'm at nearly 100 energy before I get out of here. So I believe instead of going for the Aerial Ace, which would one-shot it, I'm going to go for the Leaf Blade just because it is less energy and would also one-shot it as well. So depending on what he has in the back here, it's basically determines the match. Unfortunately, it is Defense Deoxys. With that Rock Slide, it is a bad matchup for Tropius. But I know that with the amount of energy I have, I can still get it very, very low. I'm up a shield at this point now that he used his last one on the Leaf Blade there. Leaf Blade is more damage per energy efficient than Aerial Ace, so I'm going to be going straight for that. It also costs less energy, so I have a better chance of getting more of them through. Thankfully, I get an extra Air Slash through there, and I know I just need 2 Leaf Blades at this point to KO this Defense Deoxys. It's going to come right down to the wire. I think I'm probably 2 Air Slashes away. Yep, 1. And the second one goes through, but unfortunately the Defense Deoxys gets off the Rock Slide. I think if I landed that Focus Blast at the beginning, and either drawn the shield or actually landed the Focus Blast, this matchup would have gone a lot differently. But unfortunately, that's not what happened. No worries, we'll shrug it off, go to the next one. Up against only Zarya Nova. Again, leading this Ampharos, and this Ampharos catches good leads for me all the time. Now, the dangerous thing about this matchup is that it is very close. If you lag to the point that Altaria gets even just 2 more extra Dragon Breaths through, then you will lose this matchup. The Sky Attack is resisted due to Ampharos' pure electric typing. And that Sky Attack from Altaria does not do very much. But as you'll see there, that little spinning disc up in the upper left, I lagged just barely enough, and I only hit the Great due to lag as well. So that's unfortunate. It's just something that comes with the territory of playing Go Battle League. I'm sure we've all experienced it at some point, and there's no point dwelling on it. I will get very close to this next Thunder Punch, but like I said, with those extra Dragon Breaths coming through, I'm unable to get off that Volt Switch. Unable to get off that Thunder Punch, and the Altaria will have a charged up move for whatever comes in. Definitely do not hit Azumarill with Dragon Pulse. Although it is more energy and it may seem smart, that fairy type is actually immune to the dragon typing. In other words, it double resists it. So he has Meganium and Azumarill in the back, which is very good for me with my Tropius. Tropius needs to fear the Ice Beam on Azumarill, but it is a complete wall to Meganium, triple resisting the Earthquake as well as double resisting any Frenzy plants. So I will shoot up all of these Ice Beams because I know I need to keep my Tropius alive because I don't want my Azumarill in the back matched up with that Meganium. So I expect him to shield because he doesn't want his Meganium in against Tropius. His Azumarill has a much better chance of grabbing shields and doing massive damage. I will absolutely devote both shields to this matchup. So hopefully this Leaf Blade will be able to KO the Azumarill, but I highly doubt it. I expect him to use a shield. And at this point, I need to swap into Azu and make this sacrificial swap, because if that Ice Beam hit my Tropius, then I would have an Azumarill in the back, which would almost be in one-shot Frenzy Plant range. However, he stays in and lets me bubble him almost the whole way down. At this point, I'll be very close to getting 2 Ice Beams off on the Meganium, which is all that I'll need to KO. And I do not get there just before it hits the Frenzy Plant, but that's fine. I think this is actually better this way. With this, I am able to come in with Tropius and farm this Meganium the whole way down, and then Tropius will win the CMP tie against Azumarill as it comes back in to try to throw that Ice Beam on me that would KO from this range. So you'll see here the Frenzy Plant comes through. I don't care, gonna keep farming, get one last Air Slash in, and then throw that Leaf Blade. The Azumarill was either at the Ice Beam or simply one bubble away. Not sure which, but either way, very close match, and well played to my opponent. One thing about this team, it does very poorly against Play Rough Azumarill. That's the one thing that I've noticed. Play Rough Ice Beam specifically. That Play Rough Ice Beam moveset needs to be scared whenever there's any steel tanks in play. That's why you mostly carry Hydro Pump for, but without that, it does pretty well against my whole team. But in the lead, regardless, Ampharos is going to do very well against an Azumarill. So we see here one of the worst leads that I can possibly encounter, and I safe swap Azumarill immediately. He has Skarmory in the back, which is fine. This is actually not a terrible matchup for Azumarill, especially if they can land this Hydro Pump. But good switch by my opponent because he does not want his Ampharos being caught up, or he does not want my Ampharos in against his Skarmory. That would be very poor for him. He does shield the Hydro Pump, however, so I need to land a second one as well as a flurry of bubbles in order to finish this thing off. There's the Flash Cannon. Interesting. He was going to get to 2 charge moves regardless, so I think I probably would have gone double Sky Attack there, and that would have done the job just as well. However, he does let this Skarmory tank the Hydro Pump, and I'm going to shoot up my Azumarill because I want to get switch advantage back. I need my Tropius matched up against that Whiscash, and I cannot afford to have Ampharos matched up against it. So I'm going to bubble down. One more bubble, and I'll be able to get to an Ice Beam against whatever comes in. However, the Whiscash goes ahead and uses all of its energy against me, which I have no problem at all with. This will make it very unlikely that it'll be able to get to a Blizzard in time for my Tropius to care. Azumarill against Registeel is a positive matchup. Sorry, Ampharos against Registeel is a positive matchup. I can tank a Focus Blast, and the Flash Cannon is resisted. He goes straight for the Focus Blast, which will come close to one-shotting me, but not quite in lock-on farm down range. So I'm going to build up some extra energy there, and I really want this shield. Missing a couple bubbles there because I'm a noob, but it's fine. So I do get the shield there, which leaves me free to shield this and then land the Focus Blast on this Registeel. However, I think I'm going to try to let it lock on farm me down just a little bit because I don't want that Whiscash getting any extra energy because it would be deadly if it gets to that Blizzard. However, since the Whiscash threw the Mud Bomb against my Azumarill, I will have plenty of room in the back. 2 Mud Shots will take out that Ampharos, but I am 1 Air Slash away from the Leaf Blade here in the back, and that will easily take up that match. Let me know what you guys are thinking of the videos. In the previous video where I covered a Forest Cup tournament run, I had the videos at 1.5 times speed, and this time I tried them at 1.3 times, just to give myself a little more room to commentate and to give you guys a better idea of what's going on in my head and how I'm thinking these things through. Any other feedback or suggestions you guys have, feel free to leave in the comments. I've been enjoying making these videos while we're all stuck here under quarantine, and it's a good use of time. So let me know if there's anything you guys would like to see. Going up against red here, Ampharos into Hypno lead. Now, if this Hypno has, say, Thunder Punch and Shadow Ball, it's probably a decent lead for me. Because Ampharos will resist that Thunder Punch, and I'll be able to throw a shield against the Shadow Ball. I get an extra Volt Switch there, which is huge, so I'm definitely going to shield whatever's coming in because I got that energy lead, and he goes straight for the Shadow Ball nuke, which is awesome. The Focus Blast would be resisted there, so I'm going to go straight for the Thunder Punches. He does not shield the first one, and at this point with that extra Volt Switch, Ampharos is going to be able to take the one shield match if he decides not to shield. So he does shield there, but I know I can get to this Thunder Punch and win CMP first. A little bit of lag there, missing some bubbles, but no problem. I can still most likely take it out from here, but he does shield. So at this point, looking at the HP of both, I know that that Hypno is going to be able to confusion me down before I get to another move. So I let it throw on me. And I actually did not realize that that wasn't going to KO, so I stopped tapping for a second there. So he got one extra confusion in, and I missed out on some Volt Switch damage. It's fine. Hoping this is just a Thunder Punch, which will hit neutral on this Tropius. If this is an Ice Punch, I'm in trouble, but it is indeed just a Thunder Punch, and I'm able to Air Slash the whole way down. So now I'm up a shield, I have up energy on Tropius, but he does have the ability to bring in whatever he wants. A little strange bringing in Azumarill to up a shield Tropius. I'm not sure about that decision. Again, lag deciding that we are not allowed to hit any excellence today, which is fine by me. Still going to be able to do very good damage to this Azumarill, being that it is super effective. Going to throw this second Leaf Blade. And at this point, I could shield once and farm the whole way down. So I do expect this to be an Ice Beam, and I have no problem shielding it and building up energy for whatever's in the back. I suspect that whatever's in the back is going to be very weak to Tropius if he brought on a Azumarill against it, and there it is, the Toxicroak. You'll see a bit of a panic moment here. This Aerial Ace actually does no damage, but that is because my opponent has surrendered immediately upon me shielding my Tropius. Toxicroak has Sludge Bomb I could throw against me, but there was no way I was going to get to it before that Aerial Ace and the resulting Air Slashes finish it off. Last battle in the set here against Vegeta SS19. We're going to pretend that that's his name. Ampharos and Umbreon, very interesting matchup here. I actually play it very poorly. Definitely things to do better here. The thing about Ampharos is you never know if your opponent knows that Ampharos has Focus Blast or not, and so that results in a lot of tricky matchups in the lead. Such as Registeel, Umbreon is another good one. I've run into Melmetal leads. Just things that are weak to fighting, but most people that maybe haven't played Silph Cups might not know Ampharos has Focus Blast. So he does shield there, expecting that Focus Blast. So I'm going to try to double shield here and then bait with a Thunder Punch and then get to another Focus Blast, which is a pretty haughty goal, but I think I can make it, especially with that Volt Switch through. So with me shielding here, he's going to think I'm going straight for the Focus Blast. However, I press the Thunder Punch to just try to bait him into throwing the shield, and then hoping I can get to another Focus Blast. And as you'll see here, I end up one Volt Switch short. The Volt Switch went through, but there was his foul play came through first. So I played that poorly. Probably should have double baited, if anything. But like I said, there's no real way of knowing whether or not your opponent knows that you have Focus Blast on an Ampharos. If people play in the Silph Cups, for example, the Force Cup that's going on right now, they might have a better idea of that. But it's hard to tell in just a random blind 3 GBL format. So I do throw this Ice Beam on the Umbreon. He switches out into Meganium, which is perfect for me. That was a very bad idea by him to just blind swap a Meganium without knowing what's in the back. If I had an Altaria, a Skarmory, Tropius, a flyer of any kind, Meganium has a lot of good matchups, but it also has a lot of hard counters in the flyers, since it has only 2 moves that are resisted by flying types to throw. So if I were my opponent, I would have just stuck in there, rather than getting Meganium switch locked in against whatever might come in. Go for this Leaf Blade here, it's less energy, and it's going to KO just all the same. And out comes a Skarmory. Little worried here, because Tropius is a flyer that gets beat by the other flyers. Especially against Skarmory, there is nothing that I can really throw at it. However, Aerial Ace is single resisted, Aerial Ace is double resisted. Sorry, single resisted, whereas Leaf Blade's double resisted. So it was better to throw the Aerial Ace there. A lot of lag here. I'm desperately trying to get to this Hydro Pump, but the Skarmory goes first. It throws the Flash Cannon, which is almost enough to take me out, but not quite. And so now I know I do have this Hydro Pump all ready to go, which will nearly take out the Skarmory, and one more bubble will finish it off. Hoping at this point I can get to another Ice Beam against this Umbreon, and I barely do with 1 HP left. I don't think it mattered a ton. However, the Umbreon would have been able to get off a foul play against my Hypno, or against my Tropius had it lived. However, it doesn't, and that is the end of that match, and the end of the set. We end up 4-1 here. And I get quite lucky here. The encounter is actually a Rufflet. These are very rare. I will actually be playing in the Philadelphia Safari Zone tomorrow. So I will have another chance to get another one of these tomorrow. However, I did evolve mine into a Braviary last night. I finally got enough candies from getting quite lucky in GBL. So you'll see there, 4-1 brings us up to 2660 rating. I actually recently hit the million Stardust milestone too, which is quite exciting. Playing here against Richard Sorrow, a Snorlax lead. I've seen this, I think, only once before. I see it's 1463 CP, so probably a pretty low IV for PvP Snorlax, which is fine. I have the Focus Blast, which will absolutely one-shot it as long as this Snorlax player does not know I have it. Ampharos is a absolute surprise factor in GBL. You can catch a lot of opponents off guard if they don't know that you have it, especially in a lot of the lower leagues. So this is a little bit of a problem, that Marowak has a lot of energy. I do have a Azumarill, though, which still has to fear those Shadow Balls, but definitely want to keep Tropius away from that. He's going to throw a Shadow Ball here, and I'm going to let it go, just because I want to maintain the shield advantage, just to see, because I don't know what he has in the back. If I lose shield advantage and he has something like a Haunter in the back, that's pretty much GG at that point. However, he does have a Azumarill in the back. So my Tropius, with its head poking out the front of the shield there, is going to take double super effective damage from these Ice Beams. Not something I'm a fan of. However, Azumarill also takes super effective from the Leaf Blade. We're in the 2-shield scenario here. Tropius does win, simply because it gets to those Leaf Blades much faster. However, the Azumarill had a slight energy lead because it was switched in first, but I think my swap was fast enough that it should still come out with me on top. And if the Azumarill does decide to go into the 2-shield scenario, I'll be able to land a Hydro Pump with my own Azumarill and the Alolan Marowak in the back. And my opponent knows that, so he's actually going to let this Azumarill go down and try to farm up with his Alolan Marowak. These Air Slashes actually hit pretty hard on it. I expected to get to a Shadow Ball here, but I do get the Aerial Ace off first. Kind of scary for my opponent because it's going to be very, very low, and he can only shield one move. So depending how much he wants to farm, he can get himself in trouble here. I expect this to be a Shadow Ball, and I think he has enough for a Shadow Ball and a Bone Club, so this is going to be very, very, very close. And he does, but since his shields are down, I'm able to throw this Hydro Pump, but his Bone Club comes first. This is a very scary moment for me, but thankfully Azumarill lives with just a couple HP left, and I'm able to get this Hydro Pump off on the Alolan Marowak, which is all that I needed to finish off and win the first battle of this set. Personally, I'm running Ice Beam Hydro Pump on my Azumarill. I need it because my team is weak to Registeel otherwise. If they shield the Focus Blast on Ampharos, or if they have Registeel in the back with Tropius, it's not going to be good for me. So I do have Hydro Pump for those big steel tanks. Ampharos versus Melmetal, surprisingly actually a very good lead for me. These Thunder Shocks are going to be resisted, whereas my Volt Switches do a lot of damage to this very glassy Melmetal. I do have the Focus Blast I can threaten it with, but against Melmetal I generally tend to go straight Thunder Punch. He makes a good sack swap there into a Mud Boy of his choice. We don't see which one it is yet, but it is a Quagsire. Very interesting. Since it doesn't have the Blizzard like Whiscash does, I'm not afraid to take a Stone Edge here. It won't be able to farm me down afterwards. I expect it to do about 2/3 of its health, my Tropius' health, and that's about what happens. At this point, he decides to let the Quagsire go down. I agree with that decision, because otherwise going into shield scenarios and things like that just would not be worth it. So I'm going to let this Melmetal take out my Tropius as well. Tropius did its job, took out the opposing Mud Boy that would threaten my Ampharos, leaving it free to come back in against this Melmetal here. These Thunder Punches actually do a surprising amount of damage because Steel does not resist electric. So he does shield there. He barely outpaces me to the Rock Slides, but that's not a big deal. So I want to maintain that Ampharos and Melmetal matchup in the back. So I'm going to switch into Azumarill here. Expecting the Thunderbolt to come through, and thankfully it does. So now we're in a one-shield scenario, but I have energy because he threw all of his with that Thunderbolt. I'm trying to get his shield here. I want him to shield this Ice Beam so I can land the Hydro Pump on him, but he does not. However, the bubble damage does add up on Azumarill, so I'm actually pretty close to being able to go for straight Ice Beam here. I expect this to be a bait, and I call the bait, which was such a good feeling there. So I'm going to throw the Ice Beam. This won't take out the Defense Deoxys, but it'll get it pretty close, and I expect him to still be able to get to a Thunderbolt, especially if he shields. Yeah, if he shields, he's probably going to get to a Thunderbolt. And he does swap out. I'm not sure about that. The Rock Slide will not take out my Azumarill, and I'll be able to swap in Ampharos and throw this Thunder Punch. He won't be able to farm me down, so this is pretty bad for him. And that Thunder Punch will one-shot it. I could either, at this point, I have almost a full Ice Beam on my Azumarill. I have almost a Thunderbolt or a Thunder Punch here, so I can win either way, really. So I go ahead and I choose to take the win with Ampharos. In terms of why I'm using Ampharos, simply because it's one of my favorite Pokemon, and I enjoy how good it is against the core meta of Azumarill, Registeel, etc. It's an interesting Pokemon that I rarely, if ever, see, especially not in Go Battle League. But yeah, mine is a rank 23. I think it's like a 0-8-13 IV spread or something like that. And we catch another Mudboy lead here, which is very unfortunate. So as usual, going to safe swap into Azumarill. He brings out the Alolan Raichu here. These Thunder Punches are going to hurt. It's a very high attack-weighted Pokemon. If you guys don't have an Ampharos, Alolan Raichu is actually a perfect substitute. Not perfect. You lose the Focus Blast coverage for the Registeels and the other Steels, but it's very similar to Ampharos in terms of its role. For some reason, he lets that go down with a Hydro Pump. Very good for me. He's going to throw the Mud Bomb here. I'm hoping to get to an Ice Beam just to threaten it, but that's fine. Since he brought in this Whiscash, I can bring in Tropius to counter it. He gets 2 Mud Shots off there, 3, 4, 5. He only throws a Mud Bomb for some reason. I'm not sure about this. Yeah, he throws the Mud Bomb, which does a laughable amount of damage to Tropius. So I'm expecting the switch out here for him to try to catch the Leaf Blade, which he does actually. Works out perfectly for me. I would love to take this Altaria into 2 shields because then I can land an unshielded Leaf Blade on the Whiscash. So I will go ahead and shield up here. I don't want my Tropius up against this Altaria because it is, like we said before, a flyer that loses to other flyers. This Dragon Breath damage with Altaria really adds up. It's an absurdly strong move, and although Volt Switch is good as well, it doesn't quite do as much damage in the neutral like this does here. So he actually does fully farm me down, which is unfortunate. I am barely unable to get to that last Thunder Punch. So I'm immediately going to throw the Aerial Ace with Tropius. And he does shield it here. However, I would rather tank a Sky Attack from Altaria than a Blizzard from Whiscash. I'm actually going to let this go through despite how much damage it does. But I have no choice but to shield the last Sky Attack or face losing the match. And I've already clicked this Leaf Blade, which is fine because that Dragon Breath was coming very close to KOing me. So I'm going to throw the Leaf Blade, take out the Altaria, and it's going to be a race to the charge move. I get 1 extra Air Slash in on that Altaria since the Leaf Blade is double resisted. This Whiscash, instead of trying anything fancy with a Blizzard, goes straight for the Mud Bomb. And believe it or not, this does not KO. 1 more Air Slash, 2 more Mud Shots from him. But I'm able to get this Leaf Blade off and take the match. One of the closest matchups I think I've seen with this team yet. As you can see, Tropius on very, very low HP there. But able to take it. Going into the next battle here. As you can see, my phone's getting low and I'm playing very early in the morning. I was excited to try to get some good sets in with this team because I started playing it and I've actually been really enjoying it. I've been trying to find a team that works with Ampharos, honestly, for quite a while now. Like I said, it's just so strong. We catch the Azumarill lead. Some people instantly swap, whereas some people wait and try to force a shield or something. He switches into Medicham, so I switch into Azumarill. I don't shield, expecting this to be a power punch, which is in this matchup, if you're Medicham, you want to build up to what could be a Psychic, even if you don't have it. That'll be your best bet in terms of dealing with Azumarill because you can threaten shields or you can threaten some heavy neutral damage. Thankfully here he does think that I am baiting, so I throw the Hydro Pump, it lands, and my opponent is going to immediately surrender. So yeah, you can see the power there of this team. If you catch a good lead like that, which Ampharos into Azumarill is one of the most common lead scenarios that I've faced, just because Azumarill is by far the most dominant Pokemon. If you have good switch-ins and coverage for the negative lead scenarios, then you will do very well. Battle of the Yellow Boys here, very unfortunate for my opponent. Those Volt Switches deal massive damage. He does have Defense Deoxys in the back, which is kind of a threat to my entire team depending on its moveset. With Rock Slide, it threatens both Azumarill and Tropius pretty hard. It doesn't deal super effective on, it threatens Ampharos and Tropius. Man, Ampharos and Azumarill are too similar of names. Ampharos does not take super effective damage from Rock Slide, but it does still do a lot of damage because it is not the bulkiest Pokemon. And then if it has that Thunderbolt, then I'm kind of scared of my Azumarill. I expected him to bait there, and thankfully called the bait and tanked that Rock Slide, hoping I can get to this Hydro Pump. And unfortunately we see CMP tie, but I will be fine with putting a shield in there and absolutely forcing a shield from him with this Hydro Pump. He has to shield it or this is nearly going to one-shot him. And he does shield there, so now I am up 1 shield to nothing. I have my Tropius here, which will take super effective from the Rock Slide. But Tropius is such a monster tank that I'm still not super scared of just taking 1. So he does throw the Rock Slide. It does a little less than half there, and I'm able to get to this Leaf Blade, which will take out the Defense Deoxys before it's able to get to another Rock Slide, which is very good for me. Tropius has no extra energy going into the next matchup, though, and he does bring out the Drift Blim. Obviously, he does not want to catch that in with my Ampharos, and since I know that, I have no problem shielding or letting my Tropius go down so I can bring in Ampharos here. He brings out Swampert. Very, very strong counter to Ampharos, but Ampharos with the Focus Blast. Swampert with its high attack stat below defenses is not a fan of that, and I'm able to come in here and get this Drifblim out of the way with a shield left. Very good lead scenario for me, no point denying that. But he definitely had a win condition there if he was able to get that Hydro Cannon off on the Swampert. So as you'll see, a 5-0 set there. And the luck continues here. Not only do we get lucky with leads, we also get lucky with our encounters. Getting another rough lit encounter here. Very happy about that. So we'll go ahead and catch this here and then see what rank we got. And that is how I got up to 2696. Again, the team there is Ampharos, Tropius, and Azumarill. Thank you all so much for watching, and remember, like I said, feel free to leave any criticism or suggestions in the comments below. Things you guys would like to see. I believe next season I'm going to be making a push to try to get that rank 10. It's a little bit late now with only 2 days left in the season, but I think this is going to be the team that I will start rocking next season to try to get the whole way up to rank 10. Thank you guys for watching. Feel free to leave a like if you enjoyed the video. And I hope to post more content like this in the future, and you subscribing would be absolutely be an encouragement for me to do so. So thank you all, and have a great day.